We are here today in Catnet Unfiltered with Duncan Embury, who we met a few months ago when we were at his work doing some podcast interviewing some of him and his coworkers. He is a leading authority on medical malpractice and is recognized for his sharp analytical approach and mastery of complex civil litigation, and is widely regarded as one of Canada's top trial lawyers. He is a powerful advocate for patients injured by medical negligence.
And he's part of one of the biggest lawsuits ever to be brought forward against social media. Correct?
That is correct.
That is like when we were interviewing Duncan, and he told us that after, you guys know all the time and conversation we spend talking about teens and social media, we found out that he was involved in this lawsuit. We were like, whoa, we need to have him on our podcast. This is just, you know so much about that world. We didn't even know, I didn't even know you could do that.
Well, so you're representing the school board, the Toronto District School Board, and
Among others, yes.
And suing all of the social media giants.
Suing, yes, Meta, Snapchat, and TikTok.
And what specifically is the school board suing them for?
School board is suing them for, if I could boil it right down, the disruption to the education system and the remediation costs to fix that system in light of the dangers and harms that have been caused by social media products, and how those affect both students' attention, students' behavior, both at school, out of school, how that affects schools. So when we think about schools, children spend essentially half their awake time at a school. And because of the prevalence of this problem, it's affecting the ability of our educators to provide quality public education to our students. And that has broad-ranging effects on, not just each and every student and each and every teacher and other administrator in the school system, but it has broad-ranging effects on the future of our democracy, right? If our children aren't receiving the education that we need them to receive. So
if you are all successful, what will the board do with what they've won to help what we've lost?
So basically what we're seeking is remediation costs. So additional mental health counselors, additional digital literacy learning modules, more teaching staff in order to combat this problem in a way that allows us to provide the educational services that frankly we need as a civil society. So it really is about plugging, assuming we can be successful, plugging those funds back into a public education model in order to allow the schools to continue to provide the very high level that they do to students.
And do we say, is it just, the kids that are in your kids' age and our older kids' age, they're not going to get any of that. It's going to be too late for that. It's just helping with the younger ones and the ones upcoming.
And you know what? This is part of the problem with, there's limitations to what legal actions can do because, of course, until the case gets tried and determined, there is no funds available. So yeah, in terms of helping in the immediate future, the end result of the lawsuit can't necessarily do that. That being said, though, the other piece of this is to bring public attention to this problem so that both parents and others are aware of what's going on, and so that we can start having the conversations we need to have to protect our kids right now going forward. So your point's a very good one, but I think we need several prongs of this.
So you're a parent. This is a personal journey for you as well. Lawsuit aside, for us as parents, it is mind-blowing that parents are so oblivious to what's going on. And I don't know what that disconnect is. I don't know if it's because things are happening faster than we can grasp. As a parent speaking, and if you feel comfortable sharing your story of your why, I'm just so curious, what do you think this is that as parents we're just turning a blind eye?
Well, I think we're dealing with technologies and products that we have no familiarity with, right? We didn't grow up with them. And we're dealing with products that are designed for a very specific purpose that most people really don't grasp what that purpose is. And so it's very hard in that environment. I mean, we can teach our kids about stuff that we grew up with and lessons we learned along the way. But when a new technology comes along that, in fact, our children are more familiar with than we are, we don't have the tools necessarily to A, understand it, or B, teach our kids about it, or C, really understand what it's doing to them and how it's doing that to them and what we can do to help them.
And you know what's so hard is that we don't have a comparison to who our kid was to who they
would be without.
Yeah, because they're growing and changing. So are they moody, or are they being affected by online? Are they being angsty? Or are they seeing things they shouldn't? Like, we don't know.
And actually, that's what we have a question here. And so I assume you might have something to say about this, but what is the research actually showing about how the social media algorithms are actually affecting the attention, mental health, and online interactions? So what's the research actually saying? So if parents think that they can just get away with not dealing with this and actually putting some attention into it, what's actually happening to our kids?
Well, so I'll just give you one snippet of that. In the Journal of JAMA, the Journal of the American Medical Association, based on peer-reviewed cohort studies, they determined that more time spent on social media during early adolescence may contribute to increased depressive symptoms over time. To take one example, when we look at the data that's coming out of CAMH, and they do a study sort of every couple of years in terms of where things are at, the number of kids reporting severe depressive episodes, suicidal ideation, thoughts of self-harm, every metric of good mental health, we're seeing vast decreases in good mental health or vast increases in worrisome mental health reporting. That's self-reporting from children. Now, that doesn't necessarily link it to any one of these products, but what it tells us is that something is happening now that is exponentially increasing both the risk of harm and the actual harm to our children.
And I'm assuming, since we're living it in real time, like, it's sort of, I remember a long time ago, a psychologist said, you're not going to change parents' behavior. Like, you can't change people's behavior. So let's just say they're Facebook users. They're not going to switch to another platform. The parents are probably unwilling to adapt to the parenting styles because we do what we're habitually known. So for us to go learn essentially a new language, which is social media and phone and technology, that's really unnatural for us unless something happens to our child where we have to go and fix it, or we've lost them, or the worst case scenario, or they're in a situation that's dire. Then we're like, oh, SOS, this can happen. But until then, we all live with kind of, well, it's not really impacting anything over here.
It's like you have to have a close family friend or neighbor. It happened to them for you to realize, but by then it's too late.
That's one of the things that got us involved in this. I met with the former head of the Children's Hospital Eastern Ontario, and in having discussions with him, what came out of those discussions is that, just to take, again, one example, the eating disorder clinic at the Children's Hospital Eastern Ontario had increased the bed capacity threefold over the course of the last 3 to 4 years. And they were turning patients away at the door. They did not have capacity to treat. And of course, to go to your point, those are SOS. That is we're now at a point where someone's life and well-being is at risk. And we can't, as a society, allow that to occur. We need to stop that before they get to the doors of a pediatric hospital, because by then, real, substantial, and permanent harm has been done, if not, life-ending types of harm. So, how do we do that? Well, the main place where children get mental health supports before they're down that road is through the school system. That is the place that we need to educate and make sure our kids have the skills, the resources, and the supports to protect them. Because if not, those doors are going to flood. And that each time there's a child going through those doors, that's a family that is in trauma. And we need to address that before it gets to that. So, and I think what we all need to understand is, and we don't necessarily understand this because, again, we didn't grow up with these products. Our contention here is these are actually addictive products, okay?
Yeah.
And they're causing real damage. But again, you're right. Until we actually see it with our own eyes, our own child, our neighbor's child, et cetera, we think, okay, this is just a thing that they're on. It's just part of childhood. It's not.
So, as you say that, we created like basically a digital literacy course for parents that is like 100 and something pages long that shows pictures to how to implement, like, basically curfews, and then also how to scripts to talk to your kids about sextortion, nudity, what not to do, everything. Okay, like basically like a toddler's guide to digital parenting, because we teach our kids how to look both ways, and so many parents will say to us, oh, my kid would kill me if I did that. And I look at them, put boundaries and put settings and put screen time in, like, checked in with them about what they were doing. And I don't know how we've lost the plot of, there was also an uproar when schools banned phones. Parents were upset they couldn't reach their children.
Yes.
I'm kind of at a loss, because I feel like as parents and as schools, if we work together, we could get such a bigger chunk done. And turning your kid's phone off at 9:30 is no different than not letting them walk out the door and not telling you where they're going at 2 a.m. You would never let them walk out the door and not say, where are you going? You'd never let your 10-year-old walk out and be like, okay, like, good luck. See, they'd actually probably be safer at the park downtown than they would on their phones at 2 a.m. Right?
Yep.
Like, realistically, that's what we're talking about. But parents just won't. I don't get it.
So that's the example I like to use with people is, think about it this way. If someone came to your door and rang the doorbell and said, do you mind if I just go into your 10-year-old daughter's room and hang out for a bit and say some stuff to her? You'd say, get off my porch before I call the police.
Oh, and also go in naked and then get her to get naked. Do you mind doing that? Would we do that?
Yeah. And yet that's happening. And again, some parents know about it. You guys know about it. I know about it because I've looked at this and we've looked at this in great detail. But many people don't. And we can't expect every working parent to necessarily have the same level of knowledge and ability to combat this problem. But schools, we can, right? We've got a situation, we've got a place where students are going to be, and we can help them. And that's what we're trying to do. So, and I don't know, it may be slightly off topic, but I don't know if you guys are aware, there's a recent report that came out called, what's it called? Teen Accounts, Broken Promises, How Instagram is Failing to Protect Minors. It was a joint report by the Cybersecurity for Democracy and Fair Play. And what they found, and it's really important for parents to understand this, because of course we see the advertising, Meta's released new safety measures to protect kids, etc.
Duncan, we were at the event, just so you know. Like, we were there.
Okay.
Because as I want to be totally transparent, as parents, our kids are on these apps and they are 16 and 17 years old. So like, this is a reality for us. So like, it is something we are literally dealing with. And
at the very basic level, that there are some things that that they have done, but that there's so much more that we as parents can do to put in the settings.
Yes, for sure. There is more that we can do, but what we can't do is accept at face value that whatever safety mechanisms the companies say they have are actually protecting our kids, because what that report pretty conclusively demonstrates is that's not the case.
Yeah. Right. No, and I, what I will say is Meta does get shit kicked a lot, pardon my language. But Snapchat has basically swept the younger generation and dominated communication that's how they communicate. They have dominated that market. And it is almost too intimate to text message. Like that's how crazy this has gotten, that the way you communicate on the same device is now a meaning. And if you unfriend something or if you block someone, it has such deep meaning, but they go to school with them every day and they might be getting messages every day that are harmful, but they can't do anything about it. And it's insane that they can't actually text each other, but they can snap each other. And it means something different.
But I think what it also means is like from like all the stuff we're talking about is like, you can never, like as parents, we can never just trust that someone else is going to take care of our kids, especially when we're available to be a part of the parenting, which is kind of why we had kids as part of our job. But also if it's us and like what you're working on, and we have the schools in partnership, I mean, those are the two main times that where our kids are. I literally just said to my kid yesterday, you spend more time with your teacher than you spend with me. That's crazy. That's your world. It would be really nice to know that there was more supports and safety and like conversation around it and
how to deal with it
in the school, because that's who's talking to our kids the most.
And I want to add to that on your thoughts on that is like, is your thing to ban it totally? Or is it no?
No, it's so what I would say is there are uses and good uses for social media products, but our goal is to shine a light, as you guys are, on this problem so that both parents and others are aware of it and can at least start to have the discussions and amass the tools to deal with it. But also through this process, our hope is that it will cause changes in the algorithmic design that underlies these products. There is, and this was studied, this wasn't accidental. It's the social validation feedback loop is a real thing. Dopamine release is a real thing. And it was designed to rewire the neural networks in our children's brains before their prefrontal cortexes were fully developed. That we need to address, and we need to say, you can have a product and it can serve a purpose, but it can also have algorithmic designs that don't create those harms. And they have the means to test and to determine and to put safe features in place. They're just not doing that.
Duncan, are we crazy that our kids have social media? Like, do you think we're crazy that they have it? Like, I want the honest conversation.
So it's a great question. I mean, my kids are now in university. I confess, I was late understanding any of this stuff. And my kids suffered, one in particular of the two of them suffered really significant harm as a result of these products, which brings me to this in a personal way. And I know lots of parents who know about this stuff and won't allow their kids on social media, full stop. And if you look at a lot of the tech people who created this thing, their kids are not on social media. That should tell us something. That being said, I think that's a hard bar to set for any parent, right?
And if they have access to www. They have access to everything. And that's our struggle is, I'm like, you're not getting rid of it, because they do go at school and they go www.snapchat, even though they're not on their phones. All of them are on the web looking at it, and they don't know that.
And we've had a lot of teens and young adults who are now not teens tell Kat and I, they're like, oh, I wasn't allowed social media. And they're like, but I had a hidden app my parent didn't know about. Of course I was on social media.
And put it back on every time they left.
How am I supposed to communicate with my friends or know what's going on like everybody else if I don't have it? But my mom doesn't understand that.
And that's why, so I'm of a mixed view about this. I mean, personally, I think the better approach is not, try and keep your kid completely off social media, because as you say, they're going to find a workaround, and now they're finding a workaround without any supervision or parental control or compensation, as opposed to, okay, you're going to be on it. You guys have created a guide. That's a very valuable product. Let's sit down and let's have a conversation. If you're mature enough to be on this platform, you're mature enough to be to understand how it works and what the dangers are, and to really develop the tools to protect against those dangers and understand what's actually happening.
And to totally confess, we created a Roblox guide part 2, or like just recently. And all of our kids have been on Roblox for a very long time. I did not know what Roblox was. And I am in this space. And when I began to like actually do research for the guide with the team, I was quite shocked, like kind of horrified. And then sort of like, oh my God, like I can't believe that all of us don't know, but then something else is going to come up again. So it's like, we have to be digitally so dialed into them that we can have conversations with them and not get mad at them and not ban things and not freak out at them, because that's not what communication and building trust is, right? We need to trust each other that they can come to us if they are getting sextorted and not turn to taking their lives. You know what I mean? Like, this is where we're at right now.
I do. And I think that makes the point, right? Technology is always going to be here. It's going to advance. It's good. And trying to suggest, okay, let's stop technological advance. That's not a recipe for a good outcome. But having the education around it so that we can proactively make sure our kids are living a healthy and constructive life.
And starting young and having workshops for parents in the school so that the parents can, in kindergarten, know that their kid with an iPad can still go to Pornhub very easily. And they can hit a link for YouTube that they think is kid friendly. And it's not, but it's like parents need the double education and the awareness and the fortitude.
I don't know.
The fortitude to want to do this, but we need lots of layers for the SOS, and we all need the support. And it, I guess, is what you're trying to do.
Exactly right. And as you say, I mean, we need parents to really galvanize around this issue and realize how serious it is. But again, how do you do that? Because human nature being what it is, nobody really pays attention, as we've talked about, until something bad happens to them. By the time something bad happens to each person, we are in big, big trouble. We cannot wait for that day to occur.
I know. And you know, the other thing that makes me think is like, the other thing that I feel like I've been observing is something bad will happen, like on social media to someone that we know, or even like
the Roblox guide came out and parents freaked out when Chris Hansen went and did like the expose, and everyone was like, oh my God.
Or if, like, you know, when the show Adolescence came out, or if, you know, somebody is kind of getting sextorted in a way that they've got the nude and they're paying money, and everyone freaks out and all the parents are like, oh my God. And it's like such a big topic of conversation on the news everywhere. And then it's quiet again. And then the parents are like, oh, wait, and they carry on with their life. And then it's like, we wait. And then it happens again. And we really should just be on a level of in between of always talking, always educating.
It's like the white van. Literal social media is the white van. I'm still afraid of white vans.
The kidnapper van.
The kidnap. Well, he knows what, you know what a white, I don't even have to say what it is. You know what a white van is. It's a kidnapper van. And so the social media needs to be the white van. Or actually, sorry, not even social media. The phone, the technology, the iPad, the computer needs to be the white van.
That's a great, you know, I hadn't thought of it that way. That's a great analogy, right? And you're right. I mean, when I grew up, we were taught about the white van as well. And it wasn't that every white van is terrible. It's just, if it's a white van, you need to have real caution about what's happening. And, you know, so, and it's the same thing, right? It's not that this is a purely evil product. There's no good that can come from it. Get rid of it. We shouldn't have it in society. It's not that at all. It's just the way it's currently designed and the underlying algorithms create real problems. And the other problem that we haven't even touched on is the concept of misinformation, right?
I want to say, as a parent, every time we open our phones, it's like we're the worst parents ever, because you're told how bad everything is that your kids are doing. And you feel overwhelmed. And it's like, I just said to Nat on a podcast, every time you look at something, it's like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got now AI actors, now misinformation, now this. And it's like you can't win. And it's almost like you just want to be like, I'm done. Like, I don't even know what more to do because I'm doing everything, but we can't. And we have to keep going.
And there's the misinformation that's being delivered to us, but not to mention the misinformation that's being delivered to the kids, and they believe it to be true because that's where they get the news.
Yes. In fact, you know, I think, I can't remember the stat now, but the majority of kids for sure get their news from TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
And not like news sources, like someone who's decided to be a reporter based on an ideology.
And they tell us this stuff, and it sounds to us like so ridiculous, and their common sense should know better, but they
don't have common sense.
What they see to be the truth. And you're like, oh my God. Like, I'll never forget, my son told us this one thing, and we were like, shake your head, that's impossible and can't be true. He still was like, can I just show you? Because I think it might be. It was a really, really random thing.
Or historical events that come back up and they're like, oh, this had just happened. I'm like, this is 7 years old.
Oh, yeah.
Like, this did not just happen. This is because people are trying to get money from views, right? Like, so you go and post something old and it goes viral, or it's not even the right situation. And
did you know this thing that happened yesterday? And I'm like, I really think I would have heard about that. I Google it and it's like from 2003.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, that's dangerous, obviously, in every aspect in which it occurs. But when it comes to health in particular, health misinformation is, a massive issue at this point, because a lot of people are, they look at their phone to determine what's going on. And that can be a problematic exercise.
Oh, right.
Duncan, I'm like really appreciative of what you're doing. And I feel like having open conversations is, so it's kind of the first step, because I think we need to keep the conversations at the forefront. And I think a lot of parents, the answer is not to just like ban it, to hide it, to not give it to them, because they're going to find it. The answer is not just settings, it's also conversations and teaching them what is actually in there. Like, we teach them so much about what to do in situations. Like, we even have self-defense classes. We do everything. Yet in the phone, which has so much access to them, we don't talk about. And I don't know how many parents are talking to their kids at home. And I know schools are doing the best they can. I know it because, I see it in firsthand, but it still also needs to be double layers, because they can't go into nudes they can say certain things, but they can't say, they can't spend a month on sextortion. They can spend an hour, but not a month.
It's like our guide is self-defense for social media.
Yeah.
And that's for parents, that's their guide. But then kids need to actually learn online self-defense.
And if you think about this, that I think anyone of our age and probably younger, if we said white van, everyone could say what it was without even having to give them a clue of anything more. Because obviously every parent said, if you get followed or someone has a story of a van following them, this is
kids,
what
your kids?
No, us.
Oh,
like all of us adults. All of us could have if we saw a white van, all of us would be like, oh my God. And we didn't have social media back then. So our parents we all learned via our parents teaching us about a white van. Yet cell phones are the white van that we're not teaching them, because we don't have to worry because they don't go out anymore.
And you're right. There's not the same common understanding of a problem. And that's really at the heart of this, is making sure, or trying to make sure, that as many people as possible, and in particular parents, schools, educators, have a common understanding of what the dangers are, so that they can properly help kids get the tools to self-defend.
Tools. And yesterday when I saw the story of a young 13-year-old who took her life, I'm assuming from something that happened online, because that's what the parent alluded to and gave tips on sextortion. I was like, you know what? On Monday's newsletter, we're going to release the whole section on sextortion for free, so that every parent can learn what it is, how to talk to their kid about it. Because that's the ultimate, that no parent should have to deal with that for what is going on. And I think that people have to understand that the people online who are taking advantage of children are experts in what they do, and they are literal predators and know exactly how to groom your child. It's not as easy as don't talk to strangers, because their whole social media is strangers, and they have snap maps, and they won't talk to that person on the street, but they'll have them on their snap map. And it's like, parents don't get that. You know what I mean? Like, we have to get more savvy.
No, I think you're exactly right about that. I mean, the reality, it's the same. Well, it's not the same. That is obviously a very, very significant and serious problem that needs to be addressed. The other one is, when we think about the amount of time that our kids spend on social media, they don't, the number of times the surveys they do where kids are completely shocked by the amount of time they spend and say, I lost all this time, I didn't know.
Right.
What we need to keep in mind is, the whole business model of these companies is time on screen times number of eyeballs equals revenues, right? So, and they've got the best coders in the world on the other side of a screen determining how to keep your children looking at that for as long as possible.
And then Duncan, take into account that they have competitors that are also making money and income streams from keeping your kids on the screen, like people like influencers. And, you know, I am kind of thankful that Canada, you don't make money off views, because I think it keeps some type of control, because you don't gain anything more by going viral than by not going viral, where in the States, it's a slippery slope where you keep upping the ante so you get more and more money. So I am thankful that we have that here, because you can imagine how many kids want to go online to make money off views and what they're going to post to share and see. So I think that people don't even realize it's a business model. Like, they're like, what? And you're like, yeah, everyone's making money off your kid's eyeballs. Everybody but your kid.
Yeah, and one of the things that came out of that study by that just came out is they actually tracked this, and they realized, you know, a young girl who's posting, you know, whatever dance videos and getting 100 views, when she lifts her shirt up, she gets hundreds of thousands of views. What does that tell us? What is the danger to that girl and every other little girl that comes from just that one simple fact?
Trust, we are like, you know, we have really locked down showing any kids on. By the way, it didn't used to be as disgusting as this is now. Like, it was a community. Instagram used to be like photos, like for artists, and we like really fast forwarded it very quickly. Even Facebook now serves me like OnlyFans photos. Facebook, I'll get, I'm not joking. I was like, what is going on that I'm seeing moms half naked being like, just another Tuesday. And they're like,
why is this my algorithm?
Yeah.
I am not interested.
Yeah, so if you think Facebook's just sharing family photos, no, it's not. It is literal, because they are getting paid on it. So anyways, I'm so appreciative of your time. How can people get dialed in? How can parents, you know, who don't have the school board actively looking to change things, what do you think they can do from a parent's perspective and from someone who's researching it on a very different level than experts in the space?
I'd say it starts with having conversations with your kids, deep, honest conversations. Because, and again, I'll just go back to what happened yesterday and the story that came out. When these stories come out, and I'm not saying this one's the same, but I wouldn't be surprised when they actually go back and look at the history in terms of what that girl was looking at and what messages were coming through. They're poisonous. And the parents don't know. So how can we know? Let's start making sure that we have, again, create the safe space and the conversation to say to your kids, it's okay, but I need to know. And here's what these, just so you understand, here's the underlying business model of the product you're on. This is what they are doing. This is what they're trying to do. Now, how can you protect yourself? Let's talk about the tools. I think the sooner we start to have those conversations and, you know, to use resources like the guide you've written, and I know there's a few others out there, guides are super helpful until we can get to the point where these companies actually are either regulated, which is a whole other issue, that we have no online protection for our kids in this country. There's no legislation.
There's no police online. I don't know why there's no police online. We have robots for everything. I'm like, put a damn bot online get a policeman, policewoman, police bot, police person on online. I don't know why we can't do it.
I'm not sure of the answer either, but what I do know, I think having federal legislation that is designed to protect our children in an online environment should be a national priority. It should be a bipartisan issue, and it should be passed without any delay. It got stalled in the last government, and it hasn't been passed. And we're behind. England's got legislation. The EU has legislation. Australia has some of the toughest legislation there is. We need that as part of this process, because until our politicians and our governments protect our children, we are and until the companies are forced to protect, and that's one of the things we hope will come out of this. We need to do that for our kids. And if we don't, again, it's like the white van. Our parents protected us from the white van as best they could. We need to put the same level of protection in for our children now.
And we know the government can do things because we don't see any news from anywhere on social media. So we know they could definitely ban a whole bunch of things if we can't Google CTV News or, ABC News. We can Google nothing like on social media. So they can do something right away.
Duncan, people will want to know, where are we at in this process? When are we going to know?
Yeah, so I'll be the first, and I have this conversation with lots of parents when it comes to the medical negligence case as well. Our court system is not the fastest moving machine, unfortunately. When we brought these lawsuits, the first thing that happened is the social media companies brought a motion to strike the lawsuits because they said, hey, we don't owe any duty to school boards, and therefore school boards can't sue us. We argued that. We won in court. They sought leave to appeal that preliminary decision, and we're awaiting a decision from the divisional court on that. So if leave is granted, we're going to have to argue that appeal before we can get on with the actual merits of the case and go through the out-of-court examinations and stuff to get us ready for trial. If leave is not granted, that process will, that is the process towards trial, will start to unfold much quicker. Our hope is that we can move this case as quickly as the system will allow, because I mean, as you guys started by saying, my background is representing individual families and individual children in serious brain injury cases involving medical negligence, and those have an enormous ripple effect on a family, on the child, on the supports and services that are needed. So any delay for any one of those is really difficult to take. But this case affects not one child, but all of our children. And the sooner we can push this through and have a hearing on the merits in front of a judge and jury to make the determinations that we seek, the better. And we're committed to that process. I know that's a very politician way of saying, I don't know how fast we can move it, but we're trying.
Well, Duncan, I appreciate you. And we're going to have another podcast one day about seniors getting ripped off of all their money like every other day right now from AI scams and the banks not protecting them and letting $300,000 be transferred out. I'm wondering when that legislation is going to come in, that you can't just get into someone's computer in 1 second with a yes and their voice and take all their money.
Just had this conversation with someone.
I'm like, can we not protect the senior citizens too while you're at it? I know you're doing the school board. Can we not just take care of that population too? Can you just do it all for us?
By the way, now you don't even have to click yes. I just read, what's his name? Ronald Ebert, the guy who started the Citizen Lab at the University of Toronto, and they track, how people hack into computers, and they now have these programs that will hack in. You don't even have to do anything active. Someone can get onto your computer with no trace, no nothing. It is, I wouldn't recommend reading the book because it will keep you up at night, but
I know about 6 people who are seniors who've lost everything in the past probably 2 months. So like everything. So no one's has a voice for them, right? So I'm just like, this is the next, like talk to your parents too, like talk to everybody about AI scams. Like don't click something, don't say yes, don't like everything, don't do it. I actually was I called the police station. I've called the police station twice being like, this person called me. Was this them? Da, 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 da. And then they're like, well, let me check. Okay. And then I got verification that it was. And then I talked to them. But I am just doing everything I can to double check that it's not just someone calling, asking for something.
We live in a very quickly advancing technological world where our regulations, our ethics, and our human understanding of those technologies does not keep up with the advances in the technology. And that's worrisome.
Worldwide laws don't exist either. So if someone's in another country and does it, you have nothing you can do.
Nothing you can do.
Literally.
Okay, now you guys are just scaring me.
Talk to your parents.
I feel great. Thanks. Thank you so much for your time, Duncan. We appreciate you and we love talking to you. Let's do this again.
I would love to. Great seeing you guys. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye now.